Hey everybody, this is Steve and Johnny from IDP Plus Trends, and we are going to do a mock draft for you guys to kind of get you ready for this upcoming season. We're going to go obviously explain why we picked a certain player, and of course, this is an IDP league, so we're going to explain some of the scoring as well, just so you guys have an understanding. So we've got, let's keep it simple: 1 point for a tackle, half a point for an assist, 2 points for fumble force and fumble recovery, 3 points for sacks, 6 points for interceptions. And then this is a one quarterback full PPR. So that way you have an understanding of where these guys are going to be and why we picked them in their particular rounds. Now, Johnny chose the 6th spot. So right in that middle spot. And I chose the 10th spot. So that way we kind of have some separation. We don't want to be back to back to each other. We want to let the computer make some crazy ADP picks that aren't always going to happen in your league, but we want to give you some insight. So that way we can help you guys out. And again, let us know how you feel about our draft. You know, you can critique us, you can applaud us, you can do whatever. But we want to give you some insight what's going on. So I'm curious what your strat's going to be.
Damn, this goes fast.
I told
Real
you.
fast. All right.
The ADP, the computer will always pick
I got to
weird.
roll running back here,
time.
man. I got to roll something.
Don't make a mistake.
See, like, I got to walk out of here with some kind of running back. I think it's tough. I mean, I think this is a deep year for receiver. I think I'm going to go Robinson on this one, man.
Ooh, I like Robinson. So I'm in a weird spot because I'm not in love with Garrett Wilson in the first round. Neither am I in love with Marvin Harrison or even Puka. So I will probably go with my boy Jameer Gibbs. Be the best bet. And now I've got to. You know what? Normally I would try to go running back and wide receiver in a normal draft, but because of the fact that Team 12 decided to go and grab Garrett and Nakua, I don't know if I'm going to grab Devontae Adams here. So I'm going to go hero running back strat the way this is kind of fallen, and I'm going to grab Jonathan Taylor.
I like it. That's great. You know what? I'm going to do the same here, Steve. I mean, I like London. I like some of the guys. Kelsey, I still think this is a steep price to pay. They've got guys there. I mean, I'm not really going to – this is one quarterback. I'm not going to take the quarterback yet. And it's like you got guys who scare me a little bit down here. Ayuk, I love right at this spot, but it's a little bit too early. Maybe I can come back and get him. Probably not. That's another guy I'm eyeing up. I like Pacheco here. Mike Evans is great. But now I'm digging pretty deep. So I think I'm going to roll, just the same strategy as you. Keep the running backs heavy. I think Derrick Henry is a good bet to maybe lead the league in rushing scores. So I'm going to go Derrick Henry on that one.
How do you feel about, because I see this a lot of these quarterbacks start to go in the second round. I feel like it's always too early.
Too early, man, especially in a one quarterback. This is a super flex. They'd be flooding off the board, but yeah, it's too early yet. You just sit here and stack guys like this. I mean, now I did get Pacheco, an option at him. Probably want to walk out of here with a receiver. But again, it's deep, so I don't want to force my hand. I'm not going to take Mahomes. I'm not going to take any quarterback here. I mean, you could load up on Pacheco and then not have to, worry about a thing.
I mean,
but at the end of the day, I do want to walk out here with a receiver. Ah, man, this is tough. I'm just going to go Mike Evans and bet on the touchdowns here, bet on the scores. I wanted him, a pick a go. I got Henry. I got my running backs taken care of. I just think there's other great wide receivers later I'll get, but Mike Evans is a pretty darn good one.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, sometimes I've learned over time, I'm sure you feel the same way. Sometimes you do have to just take the best option available. Even though, because you don't want to reach. I hate to reach. Right here, I'm not super in love with these players. But realistically, looking at what I need, because I too have my 2 running backs, part of me wants to go grab Cooper Kupp because I feel like he's going to be the guy, but I'll end up just going.
I was thinking him.
Yeah. Ooh. See, now I can still get Cooper Kupp, or I can stack Rachaad White. I think the best play would probably be Cooper Kupp. I think if he stays healthy, I think he ends up being the one and not Puka. That's why I can't spend that capital on Puka Nacua.
Yeah, I get that, man. It could be. Rachaad White's pretty sexy here, but he's due for some regression, I think. I did a draft 2 nights ago. I walk out of there with DK Metcalf. Not a bad option here. We see a high price tag here for Andrews and McBride. Maybe that's just too high at this point. I mean, to me, it's like if you can get DK Metcalf or one of these guys and at the tight end position, but I'd rather take DK there. Kenneth Walker, I like here. Kincaid's another tight end who I really like, but he's pretty high up. I can get pretty good receivers at this point, and I have fallback guys at tight end. Zay Flowers, another guy I like at this spot. Tank Dell, if it was last year, his production. Now they have 3 receivers. We'll see what he can do. But now I'm overthinking it. I think at this point, I'm just going to go who I think is the front runner of the number one of course of Seattle, and going to stay that way. And I like it
I
in
mean, I
Jigba
don't.
Smith too, but I think it's DK Metcalf here. Safe
Yeah,
option. Mike Evans too.
yeah, I don't hate it at all. All
So
right,
there
Mary.
goes Andrews. That's in the 4th round. That's pretty early.
Yep.
Rashad White went. Kenneth Walker, good picks. Trey McBride, good pick there. I wish he snuck to me, but he didn't. But I'm at this point, I'm torn. I'm kind of looking here at tight end position. I got Kincaid. I saved face for a round, not having to draft a tight end. And hey, quite frankly, Dalton Kincaid could be better than McBride and Andrews. I know that's a stretch, but I like where he's at in Buffalo this year. No digs. So I mean, I'm definitely taking Kincaid over Kittle or Pitts. I mean, Pitts, huge potential, but who knows if it's going to pay off. I want a bankable pick here. I think Kincaid's it. And that's what I'm going to do. That's going to be
Yeah,
my tight end.
I feel like we've been talking about Kyle Pitts forever, and he just hasn't had the season we hoped he would.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to go. Even though I have obviously trying to fill out the flex, I'm going to actually go James Conner here as my 3rd running back. I know his health is always his concern. It's his biggest issue, but I think James Conner, a healthy one, with him being my 3rd, I don't hate the move. And I feel really good about my team so far because none of them, as far as positional, are on the same buys. So that's always good. I have never pay attention to that and always get screwed up. I'm probably gonna go. I'm not gonna go defense yet, even though someone's gonna break that. I know someone's gonna start putting defense in there. I'm actually gonna end up going. I'm gonna grab my tight end now. I'll grab Evan Ingram. I love Evan Ingram. He actually scored a touchdown tonight in the preseason.
2 of them, right?
I think it was 2. Yeah, he's so good, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is tough here. Yeah, he is. He's a beast. I like that pick for whoever got him. What, two picks after you? Or no, that was you. Yeah, and then Kyle Pitts was right before you. Yeah, good pick there with Ingram. I think he's due for a huge season. A lot of volume there for him, so I love that pick. Then Higgins went. Kirk. I like Kirk this year. Kind of bummed it didn't fall to me, but that's all right. I got 2 juicy receivers, old reliables, Evans and Metcalf. I got my tight end out of the way. Now it's basically open reigns. Whatever I want to load up on here for me. Probably a wide receiver. I mean, there's some pretty darn good ones here. We got McLaurin, who's going to be a beast. I think I like Keenan Allen, but still high price tag to pay. Rashee Rice at this point, maybe he doesn't get suspended, but I mean, as much as he's in due for a big year, I mean, they got some other guys there too. Worthy, they got Kelsey still, and they upgraded their big time. Hollywood. So I don't know if he can do it at this point. I love this guy right here. This is probably who I'm going to take. It's Chris Godwin, man. I think he's just going to be a beast out of the slot. He's somebody who's underrated right now, going at 75 overall. I don't know if he makes it back to me, and I think they're going to be throwing a lot there just because Canales left doesn't mean that the juice left. So I think I'm going to go Godwin here and reach a little bit.
I don't hate it. Godwin or Rashee Rice would have been my play.
I feel that.
I was hoping.
Yeah, I don't think he gets suspended.
No, I was hoping Murray would fall to me. Damn it.
Is Josh Jacobs still there? No.
No, he's gone. Yeah, he 2nd round.
We're looking at Zamir White, 2nd. Nice. Yeah, good pick there. I was hoping a prayer. Zamir White, I mean, Chubb, PUP. I'm actually looking for, Jerome Ford later, not really Chubb here. Austin Eckler, I have a share of him already. Like, I mean, preseason isn't good, but he was pretty darn good the last two out of the 3 years he played. Brooks is still a little reach here, uncertainty. Maybe I can wait another round on him unless you're up because I know you like him. Now it's tough. You got Hollywood.
Yep.
You got Addison. Deontay supposed to have a huge year. And it kind of gets a little bit deep at this point. So, I mean, Rashee Rice is still there. He's not going to be suspended. I think this is the best value pick at this point. I got some running back sleepers, so it's like I'm not really trying to take risks at this point either. I got 2 already. So, yeah, I think I'm going to load up on receiver here. Just take the best player on the board, Rashee Rice. Of
Yeah.
course, I think it's going to be tough.
Yeah, if you didn't get him, I was going to grab him.
Yeah, I feel that. If he was still there, probably not.
Yeah. So looking at this, I think I'll end up just grabbing, because the other 2 teams there right behind me do not need a quarterback, so I don't have to feel rushed and getting the quarterback. I'm actually going to end up getting Calvin Ridley. He's going to obviously be the star for a few weeks while Hopkins is out for a couple games. And now I've got to start considering my we got the first defensive player. I got to start considering my quarterback play as well. I just don't know if it feels kind of early because I feel like of all the teams, it's you, myself, and then team 4 who don't have a quarterback. So I can probably keep going and I'll grab Zach Moss here. What are these defensive players? Rodgers?
Wow, we're getting steals late here. All right. So now I got to think. I mean, I don't think there's an IR here. I'm not sure, but is there an IR, Steve?
We usually have 3 IRs on this squad that I normally have.
So Jonathan Brooks might be a nice get here if you can stash him on IR. I'm gonna take a look quickly what else is there, but Jonathan Brooks, if he is that guy that a lot of people think he's gonna be, I also like Tajay Spears at the running back position. I'm adding him to my queue right here. Wide receivers, I like Hollywood when he comes back. I'm gonna add him to the queue. Keon Coleman's nice too, but I think he's a little bit risky. I think Hollywood, when he comes back, is a safer play. So I'm going to favor Hollywood there for the wide receivers. Other guys, it's getting a little bit bleak. Might be some sleepers down there still, but Jake Ferguson here at tight end is a little bit tempting, but I got guys that are later in the rounds, tight ends for that. So I think at the end of the day, I'm going to take one of the guys who's hurt here, who I don't think is going to be there next round, and that's Jonathan Brooks.
I like Jonathan Brooks just because of the fact that I think you can sit on him for however many games needed, and then all of a sudden he'll end up being a possible star. Why is this defense going weird on us? You got some people who don't even play anymore. I love the Richard Sherman 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah, man. That's a tribute pick there.
Sometimes Sleeper does this weird thing, and I've done this too many times that a Sleeper doesn't follow defense very well.
Fortunate for us. So I still love Spears here. I got Khalil Shakir queued up, who it's a little bit too early to reach still, but he's definitely one of the guys I want to walk away with at some point. Then I got Jacoby Myers, also a guy queued up at the wide receiver position, who I think is going to provide great value here. I mean, you look at Lad McConkey, he may have some questions, yet hasn't really played in the preseason. Keon Coleman, and there's a theory where he could be the number 3 receiver there behind Kincaid and maybe Khalil Shakir if he steps up, maybe Curtis Samuel. Deontay Johnson is another, good value pick right here. A lot of people think this is safe. I'm not sure about that, but he's a beast, gets separation. So I like Deontay Johnson too.
Yeah.
Tight ends, you still got Jake Ferguson. I like Hawkinson. That's one of my later round guys, especially if we have 3 IR spots. I'm definitely putting Hawkinson on the queue. I think I'm going to walk out of here with Tajay Spears. I think he's going to be the number 1 there. I mean, not really touch share, but fantasy points.
Yep.
So I think he's a good value pick there. And, I'm not worried about running backs at all really now.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad move. I just think I definitely got to get my quarterback. Again, not feeling rushed. but I will grab Keon Coleman. You know, I always talk him up big time. And then
Yes,
I'm
sir.
gonna go and grab my quarterback. And as far as quarterback goes, there's so many good ones. Like I'm a big fan of Jaden Daniels because of his rushing ability. I think he's someone that if you can, and you can draft him pretty late, and I think you get a lot of value out of him. Um, I've been watching Hard Knocks. You know, I love what Caleb has been able to do. Um, and then I don't mind the Tua move. I know people obviously aren't in love with him, but I think Tua is actually a pretty good quarterback, and I think his fantasy value is really strong. Um, but you know, looking at this, I'm I think I end up just going to the I'm gonna go to the Caleb round. I just picked him just a little bit above Purdy. I don't know if I Purdy worries me if Ayuk's gone.
Well, let's see. I'm up. Got some options here. I mean, tight end, we still got Jake Ferguson. That might be, if you're trying to shore up tight end position right here, that, you know, that could be your move. I still want to get Hawkinson and another guy I like down there. I'll talk about him in a couple rounds. Again, going back to these wide receivers, Lad McConkey, you know, question marks about him. Maybe this is the round I take Deontay Johnson right here. Maybe he is the number one unanimous, and it's a great pick. So I think there's a lot of upside with that pick. I like Khalil Shakir in Buffalo, but still think I can get him later. If we look at the running backs here, Jalen Warren, very similar to like, you know, Tajay Spears, Chase Brown, kind of passing back. A little bit more to that, to his game, you know, of course, all three of those guys. But I mean, the hamstring injury, I like Najee there. I'm not really trying to get many shares of Warren this year, or Singletary for that matter. He's not Saquon. He's one of those guys. It's like he's a starting running back, but doesn't play third downs either. So I'm going to go with Deontay Johnson here, this pick, and move on and maybe look at quarterback next.
Yeah, you're the only one who hasn't grabbed a quarterback yet. So that's not. I think that's kind of how you feel. If other people have their quarterbacks, I think you kind of wait on those.
I mean, look, you know, you talked up Tua. Where are we? We're in the 11th round, and you know, I stacked up my wide receivers, my running backs. I got a big name tight end, and you know, now I'm getting the quarterback. Now I'm getting Tua, who's thrown to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So it's like that's the way I like to play. Of course, this is not a super flex, so you can kind of get away with that. And last year it was Jared Goff, a guy who I drafted in many leagues who did really well, surprisingly, to many people, you know, preseason. So this is where you can get your Matt Staffords late, your Tuas, these guys who are still high volume throwers in the NFL. So I'm going to get Tua here.
Again, I think Tua is a smart move. So I'm gonna grab my first
Before it gets
defensive
out of
player,
hand.
get Foye. So and then I'm going to stack him with Fred Warner.
You just went for it all.
Got to go for it. I did that in my home league. I went linebacker pretty heavily when everyone started to accumulate defensive players, and it can be a game changer.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go with a similar kind of mentality here. I'll go IDP, and you know, this is obviously so many defensive players have went that like you wouldn't be in this situation where you know you have options like Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, Foye, who you just had taken, and I mean there's great IDP out there, but to me the way I play this, I have a defensive line spot, and to me that's a very risky proposition, especially if you try to look at the sacks, and I want somebody who can go out there and get tackles from that position. So to me, I value this guy as the number one defensive lineman. I can get great linebackers later, but I can't get a guy like Max Crosby, so I'm walking away with Max Crosby.
Yeah, Crosby's a good move. I think he's so underrated in the NFL.
Agreed. All right, for my next pick here, I don't have to have a second defensive lineman, and I know I can probably get somebody, you know, great later for the bench. So I'm not going to really look that position. You know, let's see if the linebackers are out there. TJ Watt's there, Micah Parsons, but to me, like, you know, I'm really looking at high volume tacklers, not really taking these guys serious as linebackers. in a one-man IDP here, 12 teams. So, you got to walk away with a high volume tackler. Let's see if I can find one here. Some have been off the board. These rankings are a little bit, wacky. I'm looking by linebackers. The first 5 names I got are Watt, Parsons, Hines Allen, and Kayvon Thibodeau.
I do like Hines Allen. I like him as one of my favorite hybrid players.
And you know what? That might be a good strategy here, like having him play linebacker and I know it's not a best ball, but that's a tough decision to make. You got other great linebackers here, like the one I'm about to take. But if you can stack, in best balls or in leagues where you have LBs and DLs, and you can get those kind of flex players like that, whether it be Watt or, Uchenna Nwosu, Carl Granderson, some of those guys are listed as LBs like they are here. Take advantage of that. Those guys are multifaceted. That's important to have. But this next guy I'm going to take is Bobby O. Played 100% of snaps last year for New York. I think he's top 5 linebacker this year in fantasy.
I like him a lot. I'm actually going to end up grabbing my boy Micah Parsons. I try to draft him every single year. I love the fact that he can be a linebacker / defensive lineman. So he's a great filler, especially when it comes to bye weeks and stuff. That's kind of one of the strategies I like to do. And I will get my first defensive back. Get Winfield here. Winfield is probably one of my favorite players. I loved his dad, and he's been fantastic for the Bucks. I mean, I love what Winfield's been able to do.
Yeah, I like Winfield a lot too. You're, stacking great picks there on defense. You're going to have a well-rounded team for sure. I'm going to wait a little bit more for my next IDP. I'm looking back at this running back, wide receiver, tight end group, and I see one name that I have a lot of faith in this year. I already grabbed a share of him in a different draft I did, and that's Jerome Ford. I really like Shakir here. Let's see. Jacoby Myers is still there too. So those are probably who I'm looking for next. But I just think that a lot of people are getting, the whiff around Nick Chubb being hurt, and maybe it's more than 4 weeks. Maybe it's into the middle of the season. He doesn't come back strong. So Jerome Ford has definitely earned something with Cleveland last year. And I think this is a good spot to take him as a sleeper in PPR.
Yeah, I think Ford is actually a really good move for sure.
Thank you. And moving on here, going back to what I said, I mean, now we're looking at tight ends. TJ Hawkinson is the highest on the board. And I think at this point, it's even a smart move. I mean, we're in round 15. I don't play for the first 4 weeks. I play for the last 4, and I expect Hawkinson to be back for that and, well into the season. But whether it's 4, 5, 6 games, even like I'm knowing that with this pick if I pick him. But I'm going to be in the playoffs. That's how I play. And, he's a great stash to me. So Hawkinson makes sense here. But really, I'm going to look at Khalil Shakir and Jacoby Myers. And the guy who I'm going to take just has more volume. I'm going to take the chance that Hawkinson falls to me. Maybe he doesn't. But I'm going to go Jacoby Myers here and load up at wide receiver.
Yeah, I'm going to go receiver again. I'm going to grab Cortland Sutton, Bo Nix's favorite receiver, hopefully. Even though Tim Patrick looked really good this preseason, I think Cortland Sutton still has got a little bit of the benefit there. And then I actually am going to go tight end, but I'm not going to go your boy. I'm going to pick Freiermuth.
Okay.
I like Freiermuth a lot. I think
Muth is one. Him and Russell Wilson, though.
Yeah, well, we'll see how we don't even know who's going to throw in Pittsburgh right now at this moment, but one of them are going to throw to Freiermuth. True.
My guy's coming up here at tight end, but Khalil Shakir's still there. So I think at this point I've really touched running backs well. And one guy I'm tempted to take here is Chuba Hubbard, because I have Jonathan Brooks and I want to kind of protect him and have all shares of that backfield. I mean, Chuba Hubbard, as you know, Steve, was great last year. And worst case scenario, they don't get Brooks back right off the PUP week 4. Maybe he's, rusty. Even Jahmyr Gibbs was a little bit slow to start his career. So I think, Chuba Hubbard, maybe if you want to protect yourself, but because I'm so deep at running back right now, I'll take the risk. And I have 3 IR spots here, so I'll take Shakir.
Yeah, I like Shakir. I think Shakir, even though I'm a huge Keon Coleman fan, I'm not sure how the team's going to really play out. Shakir might actually end up being a steal.
Yeah, I like him. I think he had a great yards per catch last year. Made deep plays, big play, home run hitter. So, I mean, I don't think he's PPR dynamo, but I think there'll be enough targets for him to do well in fantasy, even in PPR. Now for my next pick here, I'm looking at like guys like Josh Palmer, I have some faith in Josh Palmer. Demario Douglas is another one. Adam Thielen. It's getting a little bit bleak here, wide receiver. I do like Dontavian Wicks, but like to me, he's like a best ball kind of wide receiver you want. Like you don't want to play that, headache every week to week. Not really much else there. Hey, running back, my boy Chuba Hubbard fell. Sometimes the game works out like that for you, and you can capitalize and take him. And now you're protected there for Carolina's backfield.
Yeah. So I'm going to go and grab Matthew Stafford as my backup quarterback. I don't always necessarily grab a backup quarterback, but the fact is, if he turns out to be really, really good, and I have the stack with Cooper Kupp, I don't hate that move at all. Now I'm going to grab Myles Garrett. Now, in a normal draft, you're probably not going to get Myles Garrett this late. We're talking 3 rounds left. Obviously, with Sleeper, their rankings are a little weird, they're a little wonky, so the draft's going based off that. But Myles Garrett is by far one of the best defensive linemen you can grab. That, or obviously, you could go to the TJ Watt style as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna have some IDP bench players here. Or I'm sorry, voids here in my lineup. So I'm either gonna have to trade at some point. As soon as I get out of this draft, if this was a real draft, I'd be making trades already and trying to give away 2 or 3 offensive players for a better offensive player. But that's not the case, So I'd have to make my picks count here on IDP at least. So we start 3 IDP, and for me, I'm just going to take another linebacker. These whackings are ranked, so these rankings are whacked. So I'm looking at guys like Preston Smith already, Devin White already. I mean, Metellus is sprinkled in there. He might be a good value, but I'm not really looking for defensive back right now. You got Levante David pretty low in the projected points. I think at this point I'm going to take Levante David. I think he's just sure here, and if it was Dynasty, it would be different. But I still think he's got it for one more year. So I'm going to get my second linebacker here.
So do you always draft a kicker? Because I will draft a kicker in fantasy. Do you draft them or you pick them up later on?
Never draft a kicker.
Never draft a kicker. Like the strat.
Now next here, I see a guy who I really like at linebacker, and like I said, this is wacky rankings I'm looking at right now, so I just found him. But if he's there this late, I think this is an LB1. As soon as we got the news about Matt Milano, whether it's Joe Andrees or Dorian Williams playing next to him, I think Terrell Bernard's going to have a repeat year.
Yeah, Buffalo losing Milano definitely hurt them. And Bernard's his status has just completely changed. He's gonna be a lot harder to get late in drafts for sure. But yeah, an absolute stud. And I'm gonna steal your boy. We talked a little bit off camera, but I'm gonna steal your boy Singleton. For the Denver Broncos. I think that defense is gonna have to stop the run because they're gonna be so far behind. That teams are just gonna run on them all day. So I'm gonna end up doing that, and then I'm gonna grab my kicker. I'm always gonna grab a kicker that's possibly on a high scoring. Now, there's a lot of kickers that were drafted, so you're not as lucky in this one, but I'll grab Jason Sanders from the Dolphins. I do draft a kicker because I do like to use them as weapons, but always on a high offensive scoring team.
And you see, I got beat to the punch. I lost out on my tight end, my second tight end there. I lost out on Hawkinson, and then I lost out on the pick before, Cade Otton. That's my boy, and I really endorse Cade Otton as like a 12 to 14 man like TE2. If you can hold him, I think he's going to definitely return some nice value, and I love Cade Otton, that pick. So they nabbed me on that one, but I got to get to work on defense. So somehow I found him now. Probably should be the second linebacker off the board, but that's Roquan Smith. And now I have what, 4 running backs. Work from the plenty that are there on free agents after the draft.
Yeah, Roquan Smith, man. If you could get him, he was our first linebacker off in my home league that we did. I was kind of surprised Foye fell to me because I was right after him. Roquan went right before. Um, I do think you could probably go either way with both of those guys. I think either one could end up being the linebacker one into the season. I give the edge a little bit to Foye, but again, Roquan Smith is not a bad move. Now, in a normal mock draft, a lot of some of these players that we were able to draft probably aren't going to fall as far. Offensively, Sleeper does a great job. I think their ADP is pretty good. Probably one of the better ones because I've looked at Yahoo, I've looked at ESPN. Sleeper seems to be the most accurate when it comes to the offensive side. So, looking at our teams the way they were built, offensively, I think we both did a really good job. I think offensively, a lot more in line with what you're going to see in normal ADP. Now, when it comes to defensive, I've done a few of these IDPs offline. Their system's a little weird. It's not always as accurate as I wish it could be. So getting some of these players that we were able to draft, you may not have always been able to get. But we wanted to mention some of these star linebackers and star, defensive backs, because these are guys that you should be focusing on. And realistically, in an IDP league, depending on how your scoring is, like in my scoring, this is not a team that you're going to go IDP super early. You get these guys 10, 11, 12 rounds. You can start drafting some of these players and really focus on the offensive side. Now, if you're in a league like Johnny, where I think linebackers are better than quarterbacks with some of the scoring that he's got, that might be a little different. Every scoring system is a little different. We keep ours very simple in my home league. We actually really reward defensive backs a little bit more than, say, your traditional linebacker if they are a very heavy turnover, interception, defensive, pass blocking, that kind of stuff. But again, make sure you pay attention to your scoring in all of your leagues that you guys joined. Let us know what you guys thought about our draft. Obviously, we can trash Sleeper when it comes to defensive, but again, their offensive side has always been really top notch, which is probably why it's one of the most popular sites to do any type of mock drafts. So, what type of site do you use? What are some of your favorites? Do you like to use Sleeper?
I like it. I respect it. And usually the IDP rankings are there when I've done like best ball drafts. So maybe it's
Yeah.
just a mock draft thing with them. But I usually do Yahoo. And I mean, I got, people, I'm in a 12 man. The league I drafted 12 man, 6-person, 6-man IDP. And it's linebacker heavy, like Steve mentioned. Usually those guys, some weeks they do score more than quarterbacks because we got sacks on for quarterbacks too. But for me, I waited all day and I got like Alex. I mean, Alex Singleton was the only big player I invested in. I think there was 4 or 5 linebackers off the board, and usually I don't dip that early into IDP. But if Alex Singleton isn't taking top 4 or 5, you pounce on that opportunity. So I took him. I also got Jordan Hicks. That's another guy I like a lot this year. Javon Holland is a safety who I like a lot too. So I mean, I did well. I sat back and relaxed, and this was better picks than Adrian Claiborne going, the first defensive player off the board. So
My
sit
favorite
back,
was
relax, research, and watching our show. You'll get those home run picks late.
yeah, my favorite was Prince Akamora. I used to love watching him play in the NFL. He was great. But again, I think this is what's just you're gonna have fun, enjoy, do your mock drafts. I think a lot of people are probably drafting this weekend. I think a majority of most people drafting next weekend. This is the last weekend of preseason. Most injuries hopefully don't happen. So I think most people tend to start drafting next weekend. This is my first year doing my home league draft before the preseason ended. So that was a little weird for us. It's a little bit of a risk sometimes when you draft a little early, but it was fun to get some of those redrafts out because I've been doing so much dynasty. I'm sure you did. I know you and I have done some stuff together with IDP. I know we've done best ball. I mean, there's all kinds of different styles, but there's nothing like, as much as I love dynasty, there's nothing like redraft. Like redraft is just it's football season when redraft is like taking over the
Right.
world. And as much of a strategy Dynasty is, I think Redraft is such a different type of animal, and I love it. I have to be in a Redraft league. And so, hopefully this video here, or if you guys are listening on Spotify or something like that, hopefully it kind of helps you guys get an understanding where some of these players are going, what Johnny and I thought about these players, why we went this route, just different strategies to help you guys out. We want you guys all to have trophies. Well, I don't have mine, but Johnny's got his. Just make sure you guys end up with a win this season. That's what we're going to be here for all season, to help you guys out. Make sure you guys obviously are following us. Subscribe. Follow Johnny on X, on Johnny freaking F1. You can follow me, AVG Joes _FF. Of course, follow IDP Plus. Subscribe to us. Again, everything to help you guys out this upcoming season.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.